I mean, this final round of talks due to begin tomorrow. We seem to have talks coming from every area of the globe this Saturday.
Very much so, Caroline. And the top diplomats from America and Iran will be joined by those from France, from Germany, from the UK, China and Russia, making up the so-called P5+1, otherwise referred to as the world powers. Now, we know that deadline for this definitive nuclear deal with Iran is due on midnight on Tuesday, Vienna time. No one seriously expects negotiators to hit that deadline, and why would they when they haven't managed to hit any of their self-imposed deadlines in some 2 years of negotiations? And we have, of course, heard been a lot of rhetoric over the last week, in particular from the Iranians. We heard from the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei seemingly backtracking from some of Iran's commitments, for example, to access various sites or Iranian scientists, which were made in the framework agreement that we got on April the 2nd. And we've even had some concerns articulated from people in the United States about maybe the US is in its eagerness to clinch a deal, seemingly backtracking from some of its demands from the Iranians, something the US administration was brushing off yesterday and saying that those commitments made in that April the 2nd framework agreement are the ones that Iran must abide by. But ultimately, Caroline, I think if we take a step back, there's a lot of rhetoric on both sides. What is said in public is not necessarily the same as is going to be said and discussed behind closed doors at the Palais Coburg in Vienna. And I suppose next week is really when we should start hearing from the actual players there, the top diplomats from world powers and Iran, to get a better steer on exactly which way these negotiations are heading.
Let's talk the business side of things, because oil companies, other investors seemingly queuing up to get into Iran if and when sanctions are lifted. But some are less excitable.
Yeah, look, if you're an Iranian bull, Caroline, then you will see an economy that, despite crippling economic sanctions over the past few decades, is still worth around $370 billion. That's about the same size as South Africa's economy. You'll see a consumer market of some 80 million people, about the same as Germany's population as well. And, of course, this is the holder of the world's fourth largest reserves of oil. So there's a lot of excitement there. But there are a couple of reasons why people perhaps will not be flooding into Iran as much as some are suggesting. One, there's the mindset. People have grown accustomed to not going anywhere near Iran for fear of their own sanctions, and of course also concern as well that sanctions may be reimposed on Iran and companies will be left high and dry.